And so this is one big reality that I've come to live in, is this: for every advancement that's happened within humans' creation, or what's often gets called man's creation, it comes at a sacrifice of the human.
Hey man,
Hey man,
what's up?
dude. I mean, there's a lot going on, bro. I'm excited to be here for all of this. I think that's the big thing, is a lot of people are wanting things to go back to something that used to be, instead of embracing what a fucking interesting and beautiful and challenging and just opening and expansive time to be alive.
I couldn't go back to any other year but today, because every other year before this was slightly more racist. Every year gets a little bit less racist. So I can't go back even one day, because every day we're teaching these people what they need to know.
Yeah. So I guess for us, like, it's good. It's a good time to be alive. For others, like, man, I wish I had my slaves back.
I have a secret urge, or not an urge, a secret like fantasy of being an affluent white male in the 1950s. I just feel like it would be ultimate control. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe it's just what I saw in Mad Men on TV.
Yeah, but you saw there was a lot of emptiness in that shit too, right?
Yeah, that's true. Mostly just drunk alcoholics, that died of cancer at 55.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I think overall, like, society is getting I was talking about this on another show. Like, I think that there's so much that's happening and we're moving towards a singularity, but I don't know if the human race is gonna survive to see it. We're racing towards it with AI, AR, VR, quantum computing, blockchain technology, 5G, all this stuff. We're racing towards it. All this technology is like, blending with humanity. We're always using it. I'm wearing a Bluetooth headset right now. Soon it will be connected to my brainstem. But will humanity survive not only the technological shift, but just the war that's going to take to get to this point? We're already seeing now. You look in the news, on the verge of another war.
Yeah, it was an interesting concept. I mean, yes, we can get into that too. But when you say singularity and the race towards singularity, I think there's a lot of people that have this ideal of moving towards the one, right? Being that we come from the one. But I do want to go deeper into this, because I think there is a general misperception. And this perception is that we are here having a human experience for a reason. And that human experience is possible within the third dimension, where we have time and space, and where we have the perception of another. And so being an individual is part of the human experience. When you lose your human, you're losing your individual, which means you have gone to the one and you've probably left this dimension. Or you're missing out on the reason that we're here in the first place. So my mentor says this, Dr. Marvin Tulls, the human is here for two main reasons: to feel what it feels like to give like God, right? And so when I say that, right, when you go outside of the third dimension, you lose time and space, then you start to join the one, the I am, the great spirit, whatever you want to call it. But in God consciousness, without time and space, there is no other. For those that have experienced different journeys, whether it be through plant relations or breath work or deep meditation or fasting or
plant relations, you got with the plants. Yeah.
There's a variety of ways to get beyond our normal state of consciousness. But for those that have experienced that, you start to feel into that, like where the ego dies, right? Your feeling of the individuality is gone. Now, with that, in that, especially if you enter more of the DMT states, which again, DMT is endogenous. When you enter elevated states of DMT expression, or you could say Kundalini arising, or you could say third eye opening or crown chakra opening, in that no other things are just happening. They're just and they're all happening at once. And so we are here in the third dimension as a human to receive and to feel what it feels like to give like God, meaning to give to other, because in that all consciousness, all things at all time, there is no perception of another. So that's part of the blessing, and that's what makes us an individual. That's what makes us human. The second reason we are here is to receive as a result of effort. To receive as a result of effort. And so now you can already probably start bringing in a lot of the modernization that's been happening and the tech advances. And there's drastically happening less effort in many ways, potentially more mentally stressful, because it's become more of a game of the mind, if you will, but less effort. And so we're here to receive as a result of effort, because in the all God consciousness that is all present, all knowing, all powerful, it just is. And so what makes effort is time. Now, your perception of effort is based on often time and space. So I do have concern, as I know you do as well, is that as we make some of these quote unquote advancements, are they coming at the advancement of human? And a lot of people can't even answer that, because they don't even understand what is human, what are the principles of a human, and that there was a blueprint laid out for us by our ancestors. And so for those that are interested, you can look into previous civilizations, one of them being the Hopi and the Hopi prophecy, meaning, actually, before I even get into that, because there's not even a need to really go deep on that, is this: we're operating with a misperception, and you can read this with Steiner's work, that we think we're the most evolved species, right? That the human is like, in this generation, is evolved. If you study ancient civilizations and where we actually come from, and whether you're talking about the Anunnaki, or whether you're talking about the Sumerians, or you're talking, like where we actually come from, and then up the line, there's even more, the ancient civilizations that happened prior to this dimension that we're aware of. So now you're getting into the Atlanteans and some of the other ones, they're the Palladians. This species is actually pretty de-evolved, meaning that we come from much higher realms of consciousness. And not only that, much higher realms of being a fucking human. So it was on season 1, episode 4. It's called The Empowered Human of Ancient Civilizations. It was an episode and it's talking to an Egyptian archaeologist, and he's talking about human senses. Most of us here are used to hearing and operating with 5 senses, right? You're often used to hearing, oh yeah, you got your basic 5 senses, right? You got your smell, and you got your taste, and you got your hearing, and you got your feeling, you got your sight. Okay, there's your 5 senses. He said the human within some of the ancient Egyptian times was operating with 365 senses. And so this is one big reality that I've come to live in, is this: for every quote unquote advancement that's been made in man's creation, or human's creation, because you have God's creation, which is the human, right? And then you got human's creation, which is the technology. For every advancement that's happened within human's creation, or what's often gets called man's creation, it comes at a sacrifice of the human, which is God's creation.
I'm just laughing because all I said was one thing, and you just went off.
Sorry, bro.
I love it. You make my job so easy, because people are just, they're listening, like, what? They're trying to follow the individual threads of what you said. One of the things I thought was good and was so relevant, and what I find is so true in my life, is that we're meant to feel the results of like meaningful effort, or the fruits of our labor in that way. And you see previous generations were just so much harder, bro. Harder. They would get their legs amputated in the middle of a battle scene. They would just be living outside in the elements. They would get all types of different diseases and live through it. Harder people for harder times. And I think that even though there are the modern conveniences make life very enjoyable in a lot of ways, the softer you become and the less you're accustomed to having to exert effort for anything that you get, the less anything satisfies you at all.
And then what people have forgotten is you've given all your power away to something outside of yourself. And that's the biggest thing. So let me give you some examples on what I'm talking about when I say every advancement, quote unquote, advancement that we've made in an external technology has come at a sacrifice of our internal technology, which is basically our internal power. It's the continual, basically relinquishing of one's power and giving it to something outside of yourself. For right now, you look at your fucking phone, everything your phone can do, the human used to be able to do. Right? I want to make a call somewhere to a relative across the way, across the land, across the world. We were able to do that by connecting to the larger field. What is the fucking internet? The internet is basically the Akashic records, right? You go look into, I want to look up, I can find it out. Like now, like the internet has a source of the infinite. Is there anything that you can think of that you probably can't find something up on the internet at this moment? Right? You come up with the most fucking random shit. I want to see, I don't know, bat shit in Asia. I don't know, whatever the fuck you name, the fucking random ass scenario that you.
Yeah, but how do you access the Akashic records though? The internet is a concrete, it's touchable. It's a 3D version of the Akashic records, right?
Right. So it's more interactable. But I'm saying was that same skill set that was able to be developed within the human through years of effort is becoming effortless.
Yes.
And so because of that, we're no longer utilizing that skill. One of the books that I like to give people when first looking into this is What Doesn't Kill Me. And this was a book done about Wim Hof by an investigative journalist that was out to disprove Wim Hof's methods, right? And so he went out to disprove them, but after spending time and training with him, he's like, fuck, man, this guy's actually onto something. But what he goes through, I think it's in the first 3 or 4 chapters, is a lot of our lost abilities. Because one of the things that he found out while studying Wim is that Wim had produced a lot more brown fat cells, right? Brown fat cells is what's needed for thermogenesis to help regulate heat when you're exposed to cold weather. And so he did all this research and seeing people that live in cold weather environments and that get exposed to cold weather have a much higher rate of brown fat cells, which then enables them to be in cold weather for longer periods of time. And that is an adaptable human trait. Majority of us live in air-conditioned environments to the point that you could be in 72 degrees pretty much your whole fucking life if you wanted to.
I have 0 brown fat cells. Right now, in my temperature-controlled environment, I'm cold.
Yes. Okay.
I'm like a small gerbil. I'm always shivering.
Oh boy. Yes, you need some cold weather immersion.
I mean, I do cold therapy every morning in the shower.
Cold.
And man, I can't even find my way out of a fucking paper box because I always have to use the GPS. I'm always cold in the temperature controlled environment. And I do the cold shower every morning. The Oregon tanks, bro, make that water fucking cold. From California, from LA, it was like a bath. This is freezing, bro. And I will be in there for 60 seconds praying that it's over. And if I push it over, sometimes I go, it hurts, but it's better than coffee.
Better than coffee.
And I feel like it's doing something for my immune system. I feel like it makes my immune system mean. It's like, it beefs it up.
Yes. So yeah, one benefit of cold water is the brown fat cells. Another one is going to be immune regulation. Another one is going to be efficiency of the blood vessels. And then a few others. The other thing they go over in that book is that we all have this magnetoreceptor, and it was found actually in the 2000s that is in the sinuses that always knows where north is. And again, like you just said, you always use GPS on your phone, so you don't know exactly what that is and what it is, but it exists within the human. We just don't use it. For instance, if you would ask, back in the day, a native person where somebody or something was at in the room, they would give you a cardinal direction. This person is to my west. This person is to my south. This thing is to my right. Oh, we're going to go to the north. They never said, I'm going to go left, or this person's to my left. They always knew where they were at in the world. right?
Well,
And
dude,
so, but these are just a few examples of the many of the intelligence and the skills and the sensory mechanisms that exist within the human that we've been slowly relinquishing and really sacrificing for this external technology for greater levels of efficiency. But the question becomes, what is a point of no return, right? How, like, where do you give so much away for the means of greater levels of efficiency and less effort that you've lost out on the human experience? And that
that's
is going to
exactly
be,
what I've been asking.
yes.
And when is enough enough?
When's it fucking enough? And then there's like a lot of people say like, oh yeah, like we're evolved. Again, I don't think that we're very evolved. I think we've been in actually a de-evolution of a human in many
You
ways.
say,
Some of you
when
look,
is
oh
enough?
no,
Yeah.
what period are you going back to, bro? You going back to the medieval times when we didn't have fucking sanitation? No, go back fucking further. Go back further. Actually do some deep work and actually understand like origin of people. Now, again, some of the advances that are going to be made to aid the human experience as an ally, beautiful. And I would say we've come to a point of technology where we've gone like logarithmic, where it's gone exponential growth in a way that it's almost like a runaway train in some ways.
Right.
Because people are just creating shit to create shit because they can create shit. And you can almost create anything you fucking want. And they're not bringing the morals and ethics into the question at what point has it gone too far and now we're losing our human. And that point is a level of singularity, which you're seeing happen with a lot of this move towards the global economic forum, right? Where you want a one world currency, and then it's basically one world fucking order, and then it's everything, there's all kinds of weird shit that's happening because this would be better for the whole. But you forget, we want to move in unity, but not complete submersion where it's all, when I think unity, I think a bunch of fractals or a bunch of pieces coming together, but not solidifying. Like we are in support as individuals, sovereign individuals in support and unification. I have respect for your needs as much as I have respect for my own needs. So we have a mutual respect for each other, and we can move forward towards unity. And I can respect your opinions and thoughts as much as you respect my opinions and thoughts, and vice versa. But I'm not ever meant to mesh with, like, I fully solidify with you. I need to stay sovereign in my being. Otherwise, I've lost my human. And that's what people are missing here, I believe.
That's exactly what Malcolm X said. Malcolm X said, no integration, separation. He said, we don't need to mix. We want our own businesses. We want our own community. No, I'm just kidding.
And separation does not mean segregation either.
Yeah. Man. I would go on a Malcolm tangent right now. I feel like I've been doing that on a few podcasts. I'm going to start alienating people because I'm such a huge Malcolm fan. I've been like studying him and reading different books on him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. I think that that we are getting to a point where we're not, just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. And there's been a lot of, ancient allegorical warnings about this too. Even if you look at like Frankenstein, just like, it's not an ancient warning, but it's like, so the questions are like, should something be done, at what costs? What do we lose when we also gain something? There's no free lunch ever, on an individual level or a societal level. So we're deep into eating our free lunch and realizing that it wasn't so free. We're going to have to pay something. We're not going to backtrack in our technology. Like, you might be aware that this is happening, but we're still going in this direction. At least humanity is.
Yeah. So yeah, something that comes up for me is, I do a lot of work in purpose, right? I read tone for a living. When I say tone, like, tone is a vibration, and life is the expression of tone through matter, right? Life is the expression of tone through matter. So when I'm working with people on the chiropractic table, I'm assessing tone. So you're just assessing myofascial tone. You're assessing the tone and vibration of the nerve system, and what is sympathetic stress versus parasympathetic stress, and it goes deep. But when I'm in communication, with somebody, it's not just the words they're saying; it's how they're saying them. I'm in an assessment of tone of postures, tone of being, and as somebody that reads tone for a living, what I've come to realize is when people are feeling very fulfilled, it's in connection to utilizing their unique purpose. Their unique purpose. When they are not connected to their why, which is a very personal why, which often life does a great job of revealing to us through our personal stories and challenges and blessings, that when they're not in their unique why, in their unique purpose, they are much less fulfilled. And so if we surrender, again, our human and individuality to a group think, we've lost that, and we are a subdued version of ourselves, because nobody is living in their purpose. Nobody is living fully fulfilled, because now it's become about the group's fulfillment. And unfortunately, what you're doing is you're taking a potential that doesn't want the potential work and effort to find it, to discover it, and basically just putting a cap. Like, it's like almost like putting, like, like when you get a certain car, sometimes like when you get these electric cars, right? The car can actually go 180, 220 miles an hour, but it has a capacitor on it, right? I feel like that's what we've done to humanity throughout this time, is like, and you see it happen, and that's like part of cancel culture and all this other crazy shit that's happening, is anybody, right, that is thinking outside of what is now the main, right, corporate media driven agenda, which has nothing to do with health, which has nothing to do with science, which has nothing to do with healing, is censored, ridiculed, shamed, cut off, canceled, to the point that you can't even joke anymore, because the level of, it's not even the level of sensitivity is so high, because some people see it and it's like, oh, why are people so sensitive? It's not even that they're so sensitive, they're so fucking scared. They're fucking so scared of being canceled by others to even fucking laugh. Like, this is like, it's gotten to a point, like, again, so the question is, are we actually having the wide dynamic variety and expression of what it means to be human? Because in the human experience, it's not this muted, subdued, capacitated, low capacity system. It's a very high capacity system. It's an infinite system because it's connected to the infinite, which means we can have the highest of highs, of joy, of power, of fierceness, of love, of courage, of strength, of boldness, and the fucking lowest of lows to the deepest bellies of depression and sadness and regret and despair and shame and fucking all of it. And to me, that's what makes the human so beautiful. And in my communion with God, with spirit, and with some of these other ascended energies that are available to us, that's the information that I receive when I talk about, or when I ask about the human experience. They want to know what it's like to feel the way that we feel. They want to know what it's like to feel the way that we feel. And I think what also I imagine gets missed is, if you move towards that singularity, you're missing out on the depth of that experience as it relates to a human. We have a very unique, brain, spinal cord, nerve system, and how the brain is configured so that when these energies come through our system, how we perceive them in such a very unique way. And oftentimes we judge it so hard, and don't want it, and try to figure out these. Give me the medicine, right? Give me the pharmaceutical fucking drugs, so I can not feel this shit, because I don't want effort to find the fucking lesson. So now we can go into healing if we want to go into healing. How you doing, bro?
Where to start with you today? I was wondering what type of interview it was going to be, but it's good. Sometimes you need the hot fire. People need to re-examine why we're doing things,
Yeah, man.
stay woke is real, it's like, and like, just stay aware of your motivations for things, stay aware of whether or not your thoughts are your own, or they're thoughts that have been, uh,
Program.
broadcast and you've received. Think about how much of the activity that goes on in our mind is what someone else wants us to think. So just detach yourself a little bit from that. I know that you frequently go on different types of, like, either real or virtual fasts, like a social media fast or an actual food fast. And I think those are great ways to, like, cleanse the space, so you can just get some clarity on what's real, what's not, what's me, what's that. And all the stuff that you're talking about, I think, can become more clear through those types of practices.
100%. 100%. I could go in. Yeah, I'm interested. What do you want to know? Because I can go on a few different areas here. I do think that is important, because you do a good job talking about that too. I remember when we were in Bali in 2018, and you dropped the pendulums, paradigms, and
Programs,
programs, which is a beautiful, concept on this. But I think a lot. If you don't mind, I'd like to teach about energy real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, obviously, then there's many realms Daniel and I can get into, and thank you for listening so far. This is going to be one that it is, for whatever reason, it's coming in heavy right now. It's coming in potent. And so this is one that you'll actually get more benefit in the second to third time listening, if you're willing to do that. And then if you have questions, reach out. I'm happy to go and continue to educate deeper on these things. And I know Daniel is as well. So real quick on energy, and I think what people don't understand, or there's a large group that doesn't understand, is how much of our thoughts, right, are really a conditioning based on the energy that we interact with most, right? And I believe if I can present it in this way, I'm hoping that it provides a new level of clarity, while also providing a deeper level of challenge to potentially your current perspective and paradigm. So with that said, most people confuse mind with brain. Mind with brain. Your mind is not your brain. Your mind is not your brain. If you look within your brain, you will not find mind. Mind does not exist within the brain. Okay. So what happens is your brain is actually a receiver and then a transducer of energy, right? So basically there is a flow of energy that will come through, and then based on the organization of your brain and how it's wired, and then the neurologic synapses and connections that it's made throughout this lifetime and beyond, it then configures that information in a certain way. Right, that portal of information or energy that comes through us that we most relate to with mind is going to be primarily based on our energetic grid that's associated with our previous experiences. That's the one that we give our ego, our personality, our personal reality. But what you'll find through deep levels of meditation and other experiences, that there's other portals of information that are available to you. I do a deep dive on this and teaching on mind in a variety of forms, but I don't think that's the most important piece now. But for now, I need you to learn that your mind is not your brain. Your mind is not your brain. So whenever you feel like you are compressed or enslaved to this brain of yours, understand that the brain is not the problem. You are mainly reflecting energy. And so one of the easiest ways that I like to give people an image of this is, most of us have seen like the movie The Matrix, right? And in The Matrix, you had those green symbols, right? Letters that were running down the screen. So what I like to do is have you imagine, if you will, your system, because this is what you are. You're not matter. You're more energy than you are matter. A lot more energy than you are matter, right? So you break yourself down to the smallest of small. You'll go into the energetic nature of yourself. So now in an image, I want you to see in your mind's eye, you, and then remove the matter. And now just see this flowing grid of energy moving through your system. It's actually geometries, refracted, different changes of tone and vibration, organize into different layers of geometry. So this actual flowing grid, and that's the only reason you see organized matter. It organizes into a form of geometry, and then we project an image based on what our brain is trying to figure out based on the energy and information that's coming in. So for right now, just see a flow of fucking energy. If you want to make it green little letters, sure. Or if you're seeing something different, see that. Know that whatever you are perceiving as mind is based on your unique energetic grid. So however your whole system, so it's not even just brain, however your whole system is organized is the type of information you will be receiving to you. Say this again, this is very important. Based on how your energetic grid, which is you are energy, based on how your energetic grid is organized, it will determine basically the tone or the vibration, the radio signal, if you will, that you receive it. So now the information that comes to you that you call mind is fully based on the organization of your energetic grid. So how do you change your energetic grid? Should be one of the biggest questions you have if you're receiving information that you don't like or that is not a benefit to you. Meaning that if I'm having thoughts that are consistently demeaning to my nature or a liability to my well-being, I got to ask, what the fuck is up with my energy? Now, in this, as we're receiving information in the realm of different, news portals and you're also fucking choosing that. You're choosing that by how your energetic grid is set up. And I say, I didn't fucking choose that, man. I had a hard fucking life, 18 years of fucking trauma. Yeah. How long does it take to reorganize your energy? 7 years. Better start today, right? 7 years, you got
7 years.
7 years. So 7 years to basically reorganize every cell in your human body. That's the turnover for all cells in your body. It's also 7 years for a whole other energetic cycle. So 7 years to completely shift your energetic field. And in that, right, we have habits, we have patterns, we have traumatic memories and But my energetic grid for what I want to receive can be completely changed within 7 years. And then what you'll find is at the higher levels of the awakened and the reorganized energy and consciousness, I can become selective with the information that I want to receive. So I bring this all up because there's a lot of corporate media programming that is putting limiting really behaviors, actions, and potentials on a human being that is infinite in nature, to the point that you feel like you need a fucking pharmaceutical drug, right? Which is basically an attempt to synthesize what naturally occurs in nature to feel a certain way. Often because we have become resistant to the work and to the effort to actually discover the lesson, which actually moves us into healing. And yes, it's coming in fucking thick. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it. It's okay. So healing, what is healing? Healing is revealing your already wholeness. You are part of the infinite, not separate, part of. I find it interesting that the same level of telescope that we have to see into the cosmic abyss is relevant to the same level of microscope that we have to see within us. So we're part of it. We are a microcosm of the macrocosm, a microcosm of the universe. And so in that, when we heal, we reveal our wholeness. And in revealing our wholeness, we realize that we are infinite, that we are capable. And healing is also finding the lesson behind the symptom, behind the pain. And again, what a lot of people have relinquished is their natural God-given ability to heal, and instead choose to have their health managed or symptoms managed and all this other shit because they're not willing to do the work to discover the lesson. And so there's a lot of capacity that's been put on the human through social conditioning, through education, through a lot of different ways that this society works. And a lot of it, the way that it works is not to honor the highest version of you, but to honor a version of you that is the most submissive and willing to be controlled for the greatest benefit of a few. And I think the quicker people come to realize that, the more they'll start to unplug from the conditioning. But it's hard to unplug from the conditioning until you can actually see it for what it is. And so you have to, again, so remove yourself. You talked about the fasting component. I love the fast. Like, when's the last time you just removed all of the conditioning that's happening all around you? And now it happens through your fucking phone, right? Whatever you do, and Daniel could talk a lot about this. As soon as you open your phone, doesn't matter if you go to Google, some say, oh, DuckDuckGo is better than Google. Yeah, I don't know. As soon as you open it up, there's algorithms that are working to condition you.
It's not even it's the algorithms, and it's just the fact that the phone itself exists.
Right.
It's the technology itself existing, and us becoming reliant and outsourcing our whole lives to platforms that are making decisions on some level. I mean, I think about the real life consequences of just living in relationship to an algorithm. That's really what it is, in relationship. You do one thing, it does another, and it makes so many decisions for us that shape our lives. I met my wife on OkCupid, and it curates a certain set of people,
right.
and it selects the ones it thinks I would like. And who knows who was programming that box? I mean, by the way, great job. Seriously, bang on job. But it's not always like that. And I think too about just living by GPS, for instance, how that's completely eliminated my ability to have context clues of my environment. I almost never pay attention to where I'm going now, and it's damaging. I think about, and that's just because I've outsourced my working memory. I've outsourced a lot of my short-term processing. So even outside of the algorithmic level of like, we're being controlled by these algorithms that have wants and needs, it's like just the fact that we're outsourcing our attention to it. Like, I don't store phone numbers anymore. I don't store conversations anymore because they're all on text. So I feel like it's made my working memory a lot poorer. And I find myself in some ways reminiscing about the focus that I felt in high school sometimes, or in college, like to write a whole paper, because now it really takes much more effort just to get in the zone. I feel just to get in the zone, because there are so many doorways to your attention now, whereas before there were fewer.
Yes. So I think what becomes a big question is, what skills do I want to develop? Right. And then actually asking that in a good way, that because a lot of times what people is, they go to what is trending, right? To what is the most relevant, to where we're predicting potential spaces to go into. And I do think, yes, it's great to have a level of awareness there, but how many people have decided the skill sets that they want to develop based on all of those things instead of based on their innate gift, right? So I do believe that we were all born out of a universal need, and that we all have an inherent gift and talent and skill set that can be developed, that is going to serve humanity in a beautiful way. I think many have lost touch with that, and instead have been consumed in a way into what are the needs of the industry more than what are my unique needs first. Now, with that said, your unique need can serve the whole, right? Without a doubt. And I think that is the goal. That is the purpose. But when you do it in reverse is the problem. Meaning that many are letting their cues and their insights come from the industry and the agenda, the movement that's being led in certain directions, and that's being showcased. Because what's happening, right, is it's like a programming of vision. right? You see this news story and you automatically create a vision in your head, an image in your head of, oh, I think I can go this way. I think I can go this way. I think this way. I think this way. Oh shit. Oh shit. 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 How am I going to prepare? We're going to. What if you let that happen from you from the inside out? What if you were informed from that infinite intelligence that exists within you? And then based on that information, based on that relationship that you had with self, based on that relationship you had with your human, then you looked into the world and see how it could be best applied. I believe if we live closer to this inside out principle instead of this outside in principle, we will find deeper inner fulfillment. But as long as we are staying in this outside in model, we'll slowly lose the internal. And now, again, we've moved into the solidification of the human, which is no longer human. Very important, very important.
I just don't understand why people don't understand that jujitsu would solve all these problems. It would, everything you were saying, I said jujitsu would solve that, it would solve that, it would solve that. Guys, just that's the takeaway for this lesson. Go start training.
Go start training.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of sensitivity that you have to have to yourself in order to have it to others, and vice versa. You know, I think we're just all so numb. Like there are so many parts of American culture that like almost make fun of how numb we are. Like you look at like American Beauty, for instance, the idea of like Kevin Spacey, the 45-year-old dad who just, you know, has it all but has nothing, fucking hates his life, is basically an addict, you know, addicted to porn, drinking, you know, whatever. And, you know, he has to let it all go to be free, you know, to feel like he can finally have something for his life. And because he never went for anything that he cared about. He never built anything. He never created anything. He never gave anything. He didn't fuck the world. He didn't, you know, make the world his bitch. He didn't go for anything. He didn't try, you know, and there's so much pent up aggression from just not even trying. And then there's like, you know, so many of us are just like, we're like incels for our own dreams. We won't fuck our dreams. You know, we won't go for it. We won't go after it. You know, that's the moral of the story. Go for it. You're going to die, you know? And I think that would relieve a lot of the people not connecting with each other, tapping in, is because we're all just like constipated and so, you know, spiritually stagnant, you know, we're celibate towards our dreams. We don't go for it. You know, I think that would solve a lot of it.
Yes. We need experiences, you know, that shake us up from the ordinary, because
have peak experiences, guys. Maslow talks about this, peak human experiences, where you just go to the tippy top of how you can feel, you know, where when you're really pursuing something and you get into flow, and sometimes that takes a while to get good enough to get into flow, because when you suck, you're not in flow and you're thinking about it too much. But then pursuing something, anything long enough to get into flow, whether it's a creative thing or, you know, writing or something, anything like that. But just like, don't be comfortable with just living the life that's laid out in front of you, because if you do that, they've already predetermined what you're going to do. You're going to stay online all day. You're going to shop. You're going to buy all their shit. You're going to pass whatever laws they say are the hottest to protect you, because you're supposed to be scared about whatever they tell you to be scared about. The corporations care about the money. The politicians care about the power, and neither one of them care about you. You know, it's just so just be aware of that stuff, and then make your own decisions and go and do hard stuff. Don't fall asleep.
That was money, bro. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The corporations care about money and the politicians care about power, and neither of them care about you.
Man.
With that said, there are good people out there doing beautiful things, you know, and a good practice of discernment is to see, you know, what is this mission? Why like, look for the why beyond things, you know. Because I do think there are businesses and could be corporations. Yes, they're there to make a profit, and yet they're there to also to to do that in a really good way that benefits humanity. And then there's those that value people over profit, and there's those that value profit over people. And be in alignment with those that value people over profit. Be in alignment.
I think that, we're gonna have to live with some of those cancerous ones, because that's just the way of the world. It's a way of like navigating, understanding who you're dealing with, and not being fooled when Amazon says, oh, we're going to donate $50 million to charity over the next X years. And you're like, first of all, you make that every single day. Second of all, where's the money? It's like, just don't, at least I think back in like the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe even before that, people really believed what they're being told. I think now they're more discerning in general, because there's more access to information. So continue that discernment, and like, hold people accountable too. Don't just because someone makes your life more convenient doesn't mean they can trample over your freedom or over your your economic mobility, and also recognize the cost of like Amazon expanding means local grocery stores go boop, and other bookstores go boop, and price control becomes a serious thing. This is why I'm surprised Amazon hasn't been broken up as a monopoly, because what they do in the online space is tremendously impressive on the one hand and terrifying on the other hand. So many of my clients and friends have businesses that depend on Amazon as a channel to sell their stuff, but Amazon can directly copy their goods, make a basics version of it, take their manufacturers, change the prices, delist them, unlist them, and they have the biggest e-commerce platform in the world and the largest subscription company, in the United States. They're controlling so much of the commerce, and they've only gotten bigger. Jeff Bezos got a divorce. He lost half of his money and came back twice as rich the next year. I mean, it's unstoppable. So it's just being aware of that stuff, and then, like I will frequently make choices that I feel like just to spite some of these bigger companies, because I know that to me it adds up.
Yes, 100%, man. I think, when thinking about some of this stuff, because you can go into a lot of different industries, but thinking about some of this stuff, it can become defeating, right? You're like, well, fuck, how do I know if I have awareness of how far that goes? Or it's like, just do your best every day. Just do your best every day.
Just do your best.
Just do your best every day. And like, for what I often ask myself, is, am I showing up in a really good way, knowing that there's always a chance to get better, like in the continual evolution of life, in its dynamic nature. I just need to be better. So I don't need to be perfect or have the perception of that was a perfect day. It's like, no, did I get a little better? Did I get a little bit better in awareness? Did I get a little bit better in discernment? Did I get a little bit better in my emotional acuity? Did I get a little bit better in my habit? Did I get a little better in relationship and communication, in fitness, like whatever it is, like 1% better every day, and just commit to being better. And then I do want to go on this, because I think currency is very interesting. I don't think we got a few more minutes, and actually I got to bounce in like 10 minutes. But I made a post the other day, like a little story, and because basically seeing what happened in Ottawa, but you've seen it in other countries, outside of Canada. But there was an emergency act that was proposed and then went in. I think went in for a few days, and then within that, they gained the ability to freeze bank accounts as they deemed necessary. Right, freeze bank accounts from its citizens based on whatever they thought was deemed necessary. And then they even started going into crypto accounts and all these other things. And then Kanye had that post that went out that it was like the date on it, right? And now everybody's using it to meme, like with date, like my account's not hijacked, right? Because when he started posting all the crazy stuff. But then it was like, then basically on that little meme, it was like you're basically one emergency mandate away from your bank accounts being frozen, right? Which to some people is terrifying. And then the question that came up is like, well, where do I put my money, right? Oh, should I be cash? Should I be gold? Should I be gym? Should I be real estate? So that becomes the big question. And what came in for me clear as fucking day, which diversify. But what came in for me clear as day was this: I believe the number one currency of the modern day which does have pretty high levels of uncertainty, is relationships. Some might argue that's always been that, right? And I could see that, right? Was it Dale Carnegie wrote a book about that? Talked about the importance of relationships. But what I'm seeing right now is, and then I remember having this experience, and it was like it was sometime like 2016, 2017. So I graduated chiropractic school in 2013, and I go start teaching all these seminars, right? And for a period, I was teaching like 25 to 26 seminars a year, fucking like basically every week and every other weekend. And at the time, the business was still growing. A lot of them weren't profitable, but I would be out teaching hours, fucking putting hours, and not really seeing a lot of money in return. But something shifted for me during that time. There was a moment that even though financially, I was, modest, barely, right? I felt like I became the richest man in the world. And the shift was this. At that moment, I had served so hard out of abundance with no expectation of anything in return. That's the lasting purpose that one of my mentors, Dr. Sid Williams, talked about, to give, to love, to serve out of a sense of abundance with no expectation of anything in return. I felt like at that moment that I had served so hard for that last like 7 years in all forms, like just showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up, that if anything was to ever happen to me, my family, my financial situation, that I know that somebody would come help me. Right. And that was the switch. I was like, man, I feel like I've reached a point that I've developed enough community and I've served so hard and I've built these, real strong relationships that regardless of circumstance, maybe I'm out of home, maybe I'm out food, maybe I can't work for 6 months, whatever it is, that if I needed help and I asked for help, that I'd get it because I had served so big. And so
I feel like that 100%. I feel like I made so many motherfuckers so much money. If I need help, everyone better come running. How can I help? Serious, bitch.
But it's exactly that. Could you imagine, though, a world that focused on relationships as the biggest store of value? You know what I mean? And I feel like that,
in a way.
Right. I feel like that could be a return, to our tribal nature. I feel like our real evolution is actually a return. Many are thinking more modernization and more technology and blah, 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 blah. I feel like the greatest evolution is to return to our origin, to return more back to simpler ways of life, not more complicated ones, to really uniting with nature in a good way, to setting up clean, healthy boundaries for how we work, how we participate, and what we consider stores of value. More exchanges with one another, more reciprocity. And so I think moving forward, for those that need to hear it, some are like, that wasn't for me. But for those that need to hear it, how can you be strengthening your relationships through your ability to show up to serve and not need anything from anybody? The common is, I'll do this for you if you do this for me, right? Where can you show up and serve just in a really good way because you want to support? And the way the universe works, though, I'll tell you this much. When you serve out of abundance, you get served out of abundance, right? When you serve out of abundance, you get served out of abundance. And often when you're doing that quantum level of service, that abundance level of service, it's not always direct. So you might be serving for a little bit, you don't see the direct return. It's usually, that's actually how you know that you've reached the quantum level of service, the abundant level of service, the unconditional level of service, is that you receive in a way that you don't expect. But I really feel like, what the world needs right now is a lot of that the big loving service, to serve out of abundance, not need anything, show up and support. And then, of course, when you show up in a really good way, the universe wants to help you, wants to provide for you. It will give you new opportunities. It will give you what you ask for. So the other thing is pray. Pray. Something that's really shifted for me in this new year, which I've been praying, for 7-8 years. But the strength of the prayer, it's kind of took on a new form. And there's a reason, that I think it's in Genesis, the words were spoken over the water. spoken over the water, and that's what took form to creation. There's something very powerful about our word and vibration and tone. And so when we have an opportunity, not just to write our intentions, but to actually voice our prayer in a good way, united, connected with all that is, we have the opportunity to join that connected field, and then to witness as those prayers are answered. And for those of you that have a hard time hearing the word prayer, think intention, think affirmation, if you will. But there's a lot of beauty there for us. I also suggest this, something that came from a recent ceremony is like start blessing each other's lives. One of my favorite sayings right now is, like you see somebody, they start telling you about their day and what they're going through, right? And like, or like they just got, I don't know, maybe they're working on a new project, or I say, hey, so Daniel, like, tell me, oh yeah, I got the new wave, and we just did our event, and we wear these, bomb ass jiu-jitsu suits I had custom made. Oh man, bless your creativity, Daniel.
That's what they say in the South, man. They always say, "Oh, bless your heart," which really means "fuck you."
Yeah, no. Put on it in a real way, in a good way. And then another
No,
thing
I know.
Is another thing is everything for you. Everything for you. Somebody starts sharing, like, can you actually witness them, listen to them, and want the best for them? Right. And I think that will help you with the abundance side, because a lot of times what happens when you start hearing something, you think, oh, what about me? Or what about what I do or don't have, or where I feel lack. But it's like
immediate comparison.
So when you get into the habit of like hearing things and immediately wanting everything for that person, you're like, man, I want to, attract this level of job opportunity, this level of business, this amount of collections, this amount of people served. Fuck yeah, everything for you, Daniel. Everything. Bless your life, man. Bless all those new people coming in the new wave. Bless them, man.
I started looking at that too. Like I started looking at myself and realizing that, like, okay, if I'll hear someone who's having a lot of success, naturally I'll look at those things and I'll just, without even almost thinking, compare. I'll break it down and say, do I have what they have? How much more, how much less? And I'll say, okay, either they have less than I have, and I'll say, that's why I'm awesome. Or they'll have more than I have, and I'll say, damn, I feel like lack. I feel like I need to catch up. Neither one of those are effective thought patterns for staying mentally healthy or even getting what I want. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense for me to ever be jealous of something that someone else has, because that is silently like disaffirming my own ability to get it. Because I'm like, oh, I wish. And I would even feel that, like, because I just got promoted to purple last night. And so that was a big one for me. Mm-hmm. And I would find myself at promotions when I felt like I should get promoted, seeing people get promoted and say, oh, well, I should have that. I wish I had that. And getting frustrated. Yeah. And when I shifted my focus to, I already have the purple belt up here. How do I make my skill level match how I feel? It dissolved the longing, and it accelerated the progress.
Yep. You got it. That's the key. That's the key right there. He said it. Lean into that. All right, brother. About that time, man.
We got that time. We do have an event coming up, and I'll talk more about that in the intro and the outro. But Soul Revival, you want to talk a little bit about Soul Revival?
Yeah, Soul Revival is a vision 3 years in the making. So the vision originally came through in 2019. First event was supposed to happen March 2020, which Daniel was going to be a part of. And then basically the last week we got shut down, venue got shut down, California shut us down, all of it, right? You guys know how that story goes. And then last year we did a hybrid version because shit was still a little weird from the public perception. And so we had a small group in person and part online, and this year's the fully activated version. So the full send be here in Tucson, Arizona, March 26th. We have an incredible speaker lineup. It'll be Daniel D. Piazza, Ruby Fremont, Charlie Rocket, myself, and my KTC lead facilitator team, which is an incredible bunch of speakers and healing facilitators. But basically think like Tony Robbins meets Joe Dispenza meets Burning Man kind of vibes. So it's an activated ceremony and festival, if you will, that will have speakers, it will have experiences, there'll be meditation, there'll be breath work, there'll be ecstatic dance, there's going to be art, it's everything. And we're really excited to put it all together, because that's exactly what I feel like humanity needs right now, is to come together in community and heal. And so this is Soul Revival, March 26th in Tucson, Arizona. We'd love for you to be there. Healing codes. And so if you've liked what you've heard so far, you're just intrigued to experience more, or you just want to get together with some really awesome humans, we invite you to come out.
And we'll put everything in the show notes. I'm going to be sending this stuff out anyway, and we'll be talking about it more in the weeks to come. So yeah, man, much love. Catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, brother.